I understand your concern, Marcus, but we cannot just let Valentine back us into a corner. Antoine's voice held all the exasperation he felt about the subject. It wasn't surprising, since I'd hounded him about it every day for the last week. Antoine's office was as meticulous as ever. Every book was in its place, every paper where it belonged. There wasn't even a single paperclip left astray. Sometimes I wondered why our esteemed leader even needed a maid in the first place. I'd been against getting a live-in maid from the beginning. A cleaning service would have worked just as well with fewer complications. However, the rest of my brothers had a need to have someone pick up after them. Perhaps part of it was my brothers wanted someone to bother or dote on, depending on their whim. That desire brought us to our current subject, Piper Billings. A simple name for a more than complicated woman. She had weaseled her way into our house and into the hearts of at least 2 of my brothers. Or so it seemed. Antoine and the twins were harder to read than Rain and Win. Those 2 were easier to read than anyone, even though they tried to cover it up in their own special way. Rain with anger and Win with a flippant attitude. Someone who didn't know them wouldn't have been able to see it, but as we'd been together for several decades, not much slipped past me. Except for Antoine. Our leader and savior was more than an expert on hiding his true feelings and intentions. I had to work extra hard to get a read on him, like I was trying to do now. Valentine will not stop until we get rid of her or give her to him. I crossed my large arms over my chest, my gaze set on the man before me. If you won't give him to her, then you need to eliminate the cause of his attraction. Sighing, Antoine sat his pen down and locked those icy blue eyes on me. Even if I dismissed Miss Billings, there is no guarantee that Valentine won't go looking for her on his own. He pushed his shoulders back and his braided blonde hair fell over his shoulder. No. She is better kept where we can keep an eye on her. Then at least bind her. No! That one word resonated through the room, and told me that I'd already pressed my luck. I could keep pushing him, but it would not have a pleasant outcome. I'd been on the receiving end of Antoine's wrath a time or 2 in our long life together, and it was not something I enjoyed. No, better to let it lie and try again later. Perhaps if I were able to convince the others to let her go, then Antoine would be more willing to comply.
Bleach burned my nose as I scrubbed at the bathtub in Alistair's bathroom. It made my eyes tear up and my nose itch. My fingers were going numb from scrubbing so much, but either Alistair was fucking with me or he had killed a whole lot of something. I was hoping for the former. No one wanted to be cleaning blood regularly, but thinking back to the beginning of this job, I realized that was exactly what I'd been doing. Fucking psychos, I muttered to myself as I shook my head. One would think that after weeks of cleaning this house, that I would get used to the nuances that came with working for the Durand brothers. Well, I guess they weren't brothers in the traditional, related by blood way. I still wasn't quite sure how that all worked. They weren't exactly throwing out answers like candy around here. Since my revelation about the vampiric nature of my bosses, or, masters, as they wanted to be called, life has been relatively normal, if you ignored the dinner party with the slutty vampirina and creepy Valentine. They made horror movies about guys like him. Ever since I'd gotten those flowers from my new undead admirer, I'd had nightmares that kept me up at night, so much so that I ended up having to find the most boring books in the library just to knock me out. Last night's run-in with Marcus and Wynne made me flush in embarrassment.